Imagine a war where the enemy is a large, flightless bird. Sounds bizarre, right? Yet, in 1932, Australia waged an unusual conflict against emus, huge birds that were devastating crops across Western Australia. This event, known as the Great Emu War, stands out as one of the most peculiar and intriguing military operations in history. Let's delve into the detailed story of how Australia found itself in an unusual battle against these feathered foes and what ultimately transpired. Economic strains. The early 1930s were a period of severe economic hardship for Australia. The Great Depression had taken a heavy toll on the country's economy, with unemployment rates soaring and agricultural prices plummeting. Western Australia, in particular, was suffering from a combination of drought, economic instability, and falling crop yields. The situation for farmers was desperate. They were struggling to make ends meet and protect their dwindling resources. Arrival of the emus. Adding to the farmers' woes was the influx of emus. These large, flightless birds began migrating through the region in large numbers. Emus, which can grow up to 6 feet tall and weigh as much as 130 pounds, were drawn to the newly sown wheat fields and other crops. Their feeding habits were destructive. They trampled over plants, uprooted seedlings, and caused extensive damage to the crops that were critical to the farmers' survival. Government intervention. Faced with this mounting crisis, the Australian government decided to intervene. The situation was deemed serious enough to warrant military action. The response was spearheaded by Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery. The military operation was approved with the objective of reducing the emu population and thereby protecting the crops. Initial plans and strategy. The plan was straightforward. Deploy soldiers equipped with machine guns and systematically target the emus. The idea was to use the firepower of the machine guns to deal with the large numbers of birds quickly. The government believed that this approach would swiftly resolve the problem and safeguard the farmers' interests. Deployment and early challenges. In early November 1932, the military operation commenced. The soldiers were equipped with 2 Lewis machine guns and around 10,000 rounds of ammunition. They were divided into teams to cover the vast areas where the emus were reported to be congregating. However, the operation quickly encountered unforeseen difficulties. Tactical adjustments. As the initial attempts to control the emu population yielded disappointing results, the military adjusted its tactics. One strategy involved setting up ambushes along known emu pathways. However, this too proved ineffective as the emus continued to outmaneuver the soldiers. The birds' resilience and evasive actions frustrated the military personnel, leading to a series of strategic failures. Extended operations. Despite the repeated attempts and the increasing frustration among the soldiers, the emu problem persisted. The operation, which was initially intended to be a short-term measure, dragged on for several weeks. The soldiers were often confronted with the sight of emus running away in large groups, making it clear that their efforts were falling short. The outcome. By early December 1932, the Australian government officially declared the operation a failure. Despite the use of machine guns and the significant resources invested, the emu population remained largely unaffected. The birds continued to damage crops, and the military's efforts had not achieved the intended results. The operation was officially brought to a close, and the soldiers returned to their normal duties. Aftermath and reflection. The Great Emu War highlighted the limitations of using military force for wildlife management. The failure of the operation prompted a reassessment of strategies for dealing with pest problems. The government shifted its focus towards non-lethal measures, such as building better barriers and employing more effective land management practices to protect crops. The Great Emu War stands as a fascinating and unexpected episode in the annals of history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most unusual conflicts ever recorded, Make sure to subscribe for more intriguing stories and historical curiosities. Thanks for watching.